Welcome everyone to another episode of How to Make Money in Stocks with Investors Business Daily. Now, last week we mentioned that you were going to do a webinar. Mm-hmm. You did do the webinar.
webinar.
If you missed it or want to watch it again, you can now watch it on our website, investors.com/investing show.
You can. And you know what? The webinar turned out really, really well. This was with Mike Webster and Charles Harris. They are portfolio managers for William O'Neill, the founder of IBD. And it's just really good stuff. Really, really good. You have to watch this. It is archived on our site.
Right, so you can check that out. And today we're going to talk about stocks on the move, which helps you see what those big fund managers and other institutional investors are buying in a very timely manner.
But first, let's take a look at the market. Stocks were spooked earlier in the week as trade from China raised concerns again about global growth and demand. A strong jobs report last Friday probably means a rate hike in December, and that really has sunk in, and the market has sold off as a result.
That's right. Now, we had 6 weeks in a row up for both the NASDAQ and the S&P, but that came to an end this week. As that was happening, we did note on the show a couple of times that there was still some lingering technical weakness in the indexes. And you can see that with the 10-week line being below the 40-week moving average. And we haven't had that wipe the slate clean type of correction.
Had the correction.
It just hasn't happened yet. So this week, the tone of the uptrend did change. And we actually went to uptrend under pressure on Friday. And the NASDAQ and the S&P both fell below their 40-week lines.
And there are really only a handful of stocks like Facebook that are performing decently in the current market. We can't even say that those are, making your typical 20 to 25%
They're kind of
gains.
Stalling, yeah.
They are. So even some of those names are, they're pulling back just a little bit. They're selling off as the market weakens.
That's right. Now, Facebook broke out in October. But like many of the leaders, those breakouts have kind of stumbled and stalled a little bit. But note the relative strength line. Now, it pulled back this week, but it's still hovering around that new high ground. The relative strength line is hovering around that new high ground. So that tells you that there's overall weakness in the overall market, right?
Most definitely.
So being sideways or down just a little bit is kind of, relatively speaking, good in this market.
Making you a leader,
Yeah.
right. And we are all eyeing, of course, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, LinkedIn, Monster Beverage, and Starbucks. And there's just not a lot of breadth in terms of leadership. But, do keep watching these stocks, because if these names begin to roll over, then it means that the rally really is in trouble. And also the small caps, the Russell 2000, those are really showing some weakness.
That's right. Now, there are still several IBD 50 leaders that are showing some good action. They're still holding up relatively well. But like we said before, there's a lot of stalled breakouts. And you can see that kind of reflected in the index for the IBD 50. And as a whole, it's struggled. And you can see this on your own with the ticker 0IBD5.
And you can see the index is living beneath the 200-day line. Or I should say we're looking at the weekly. This is the 40-week. So growth stocks as a whole were not participating in a big way in this rally. Now, the index poked its head just above that benchmark line, but it got turned away pretty quickly. So all in all, we're seeing weakness in the current uptrend.
And earnings season is, of course, starting to wind up, but there are still some names out there that you want to pay attention to. We have some Chinese internet stocks, JD.com and Weibo, both are on deck, and then Salesforce.com and Walmart also report next week.
So be sure to stay plugged in. We know it's hard when the market gets sloppy, but the more you tune in to the market, the easier time you're going to have it when we march higher again.
Absolutely. Prepare now to profit later. Now, one of the keys to investing is to find stocks that are being heavily bought by these big fund managers, since they provide the fuel that pushes a stock up. So today we're going to talk about one list that helps you see what these big players are buying in a very timely manner.
Now, this feature in IBD is called Stocks on the Move, and it really is one of my favorite parts of the paper, and also investors.com.
Right.
You can just quickly see what's moving up or down on big volume.
That's right. Now, Stocks on the Move comes in 3 flavors. There's the daily version and the weekly version that are in the paper and eIBD. And then there's the intraday version that is updated continually throughout each trading session on investors.com. And we'll get into each of those in a minute. But first, let's talk about why Stocks on the Move in any form is such a powerful tool.
Well, what we really want to know is what the fund managers are doing.
Right.
And Stocks on the Move picks up their buying and selling because of that unique volume percent change.
Right.
This is what we really, really cover. You know, in other publications, you may see a most active list. Now, these will be names like Microsoft and other big cap names, but it doesn't really show you what the professional money is doing.
Right, so if all you're looking at is how many shares are traded, then it's going to be the same big names that show up day after day, IBM, GE, Microsoft, because they're trading tens of millions of shares. And that's really not what we're looking for with Stocks on the Move. We're looking for unusually heavy volume for that particular stock. And a good example of this recently is Amazon.
Yes, it is. Okay, this is a daily chart, and we're going to look at the volume bars here. Like Amazon saw a huge spike in volume before the breakout, although there was not a lot of price progress that day. And then the day of the breakout, volume soared again, and the stock moved up 6%.
The average daily volume for Amazon is around 4 million shares, and on October 22nd, it traded just below 8 million, so that's nearly double the norm for that stock. October 23rd, it traded over 10 million, so that's 2.5 times the average, and that's why Amazon made the list of stocks on the move.
Now, here is a daily listing of Stocks on the Move from the paper, and Amazon is highlighted here, and you can see the volume percent change column all the way to the right-hand side of the page, and volume increased 165%.
Now, Amazon also made the weekly list of stocks on the move because volume for the week was 48% higher than normal, and the share price rose about 5%. And think about the dollar volume.
Yeah, that's what you really want to think about.
Huge.
What are we
That's right.
talking about in terms of money?
It's massive. So there were about 42 million shares traded, and that represents around $18 billion.
It's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money, and it's a clear sign of institutional fund manager buying at the time that Amazon was breaking out.
Yes, and this is a tremendous amount of money being put into just one stock.
Right.
Now, we have mentioned that in this particular rally has really been led by the mega cap names. Amazon is an example of where the pros have put their money. And as IBD founder Bill O'Neill says, the volume doesn't lie.
It doesn't lie. So you want to get in the habit of checking stocks on the move in the paper to see stocks that are rising on really heavy volume, unusually heavy volume. We really want to emphasize that. And then you want to check the chart to see if they're breaking out or maybe forming a base, and also be sure to check stocks on the move on investors.com so that you can see during the day which stocks are moving.
Now, Stocks on the Move on investors.com is a place you can go during market hours to see what's heavily bought or sold. I check this all the time. I go here because I want to see what the institutions are doing during the trading session.
Right.
So this is something you can do to help you keep your watch list up to date.
And sometimes it will alert you to stocks that are breaking out right then. Other times it might be a sign of some fund managers picking up shares while the stock is still forming a base, and that's exactly what you want to see in a base. Now, either way, Stocks on the Move is a very powerful tool, and it's a timely way to find good stock ideas.
It is. Okay, we'll come back and show you some recent examples of how Stocks on the Move can be a great tool for you as an investor.
How would you like an edge that helps you pick winning stocks faster? An edge that is proven to outperform the S&P 500 by 76% since inception, and that you can take advantage of today without spending a dime. More on that in a minute. Each day, our top market team at Investors Business Daily scans our proprietary stock lists and screens to find superior stocks with the most potential for big gains. They analyze these stocks every step of the way to show you bases, buy points, sell signals, and the right time to take profits. It's about as close to hold your hand investing as you can get. Introducing Leaderboard by Investors Business Daily. For a limited time, you can try all of the premium features Leaderboard has to offer for a full 14 days at absolutely no cost to you. You'll receive unlimited access to all of the time-saving research, powerful investing tools, the leaders list, cut list, and expert analysis you need to develop a winning investing strategy. And it's all 100% free for your first 14 days.
We're going to take a look at some specific examples that were on Stocks on the Move and how you could have profited from this one easy-to-grasp feature in IBD and on investors.com. Now, Stocks on the Move is probably the fastest way to find stocks that are moving up on volume that may offer opportunities.
Absolutely. Now, let's see how it all comes together using Hawaiian Holdings as an example, and it runs Hawaiian Airlines. On October 5th, you could have been checking Stocks on the Move as part of your evening routine, and Hawaiian Air was on that list. So you could have flagged this one to look into. Now, of course, you may be looking at this and saying, hey, there's a whole bunch of other stocks on this list too, and that is true. And this is part of why you need to do a regular routine, because if you were looking at other screens that we have, Stock Spotlight and the IBD 50, you would have found it in there too, around this same time. And matter of fact, a few days before, it was in the IBD 50.
And even better if stocks show up on multiple screens.
It's
and then
good.
we know that that's really something we should really look at. So it was on the IBD 50 that week, so Hawaiian Airlines was showing up on multiple IBD screens, as Matt said. At a glance at the mini chart, you would have seen this is a liquid name with an average daily volume of over 1 million. We also noted that it was in a little bit of a choppy consolidation, but it was near that 2610 buy point.
Right, so if you had been doing that kind of routine, looking at the different screens, you could have already had Hawaiian Airlines on your watch list when you started to look at Stocks on the Move and saw that it made that list as well. So that was a sign of some institutional buying. So the next thing you want to do is to check the chart and see if it's approaching a buy point. So on this daily chart, you can see how Hawaiian Air jumped 5% on above average volume, but it was still below that 2610 entry that was noted in the IBD 50. So if you hadn't done it already, now is a good time to do a little research on the company and see if you wanted to buy that stock if it did or if it does break out.
Now, I covered this stock several times in the Stock Market Today video, which we do after the market close. And, of course, the Hawaiian connection got my attention, Matt. I love Hawaii. So when I saw Hawaiian appearing on Stocks on the Move, of course, I immediately went out to investigate more about the company. They fly between 11 U.S. cities. So if you're looking for surf and sand, rainbows, beaches, luau's, balmy breezes, you know, vacation.
Just a few days away from the office, maybe?
Hawaiian is one airline that will get you to paradise.
Right, and
I
the
sound
stock.
I sound like I'm an ad for this airline. You
Well,
can
for
fly other
Hawaii
airlines,
anyway.
but yeah.
Right. Now, also, if you did buy into this stock, you actually could have paid for that nice Hawaiian vacation because it did pretty darn well.
That's the idea. That's
Yes,
why we're here.
Exactly. Now, it did take off a few days later. It broke out on October 8th, and it was still in a buy zone that day. And then it really popped on Friday, October 9th. And look at the volume. It was 51% above average. So again, that's why it once again showed up in Stocks on the Move.
Now, Hawaiian moved higher with volume that rose 51%. Now, this is the day after the breakout, so more money was moving into the stock. This is exactly what you want to see. Professional money continuing to go into the stock during the breakout and in the days that follow, because we want to see where the institutions are putting their money.
And don't forget the intraday version of Stocks on the Move, which you'll find on the homepage of investors.com. That shows you what's jumping, again, in unusually heavy volume as it happens during the trading day. So we don't have a screenshot of that here, but I remember seeing Hawaiian Air on that list as it was really making that nice move
Several times,
on the night.
several days.
Oh, and it continued to show up many times, but even during that day, while it was still in buying range and it had already broken out, it was still there. So again, if you're doing this regular routine, looking at the different lists, putting together a nice watch list of your own, and maybe setting a conditional buy order
If it breaks out.
If it breaks out, you can get in on these kind of moves.
You can. Now, Facebook was another stock that showed up on Stocks on the Move, and this is probably a name that was on everybody's watch list practically. October the 23rd, Facebook appeared on this list, and it was still in buying range. Volume increased 38%. That's not huge, but it still was an indication that more money was flowing into Facebook.
So this is why you want to make Stocks on the Move part of your routine as you're looking for stocks. You want to see what the big funds are buying.
Absolutely. It's a really unique screen. You know, no one tracks stocks exactly like IBD.
Right.
The Stocks on the Move is a great place to look for winners and really should be a part of everybody's routine.
Yep. Now, before we wrap up this week, we want to remind you, if you're not already, please follow us on social media. We have the Facebook and Twitter accounts for both the whole company, basically, where it's a lot of information going through there throughout the day and even on the weekend. And that's at facebook.com/investorsbusinessdaily. And then
you can follow us on Twitter.
That's right. You can follow us on Twitter. And then for the company, you've also got twitter.com/IBD Investors, and then we have IBD_A Smith for Amy and IBD_M Galgani for me. So please come follow us there.
All right. Have a great week. See you next week, everybody.